should the Conservatives ditch Rishi Sunak and get themselves a new leader? We'd love your calls on this. 0207 862 2222 is the number to get in touch. One of the Prime Minister's former cabinet allies who previously backed Liz Truss has said a new Tory leader could beat Keir Starmer at the next election if the Conservatives just get on and ditch Rishi. So Simon Clarke wrote a very long article in The Telegraph explaining why he thinks letting Rishi carry on could lead to the extinction of the Conservative Party. Let me just show you then this article here. So come this way, because the article is here. And I'm going to actually identify a few paragraphs from it, all right? Here we go. So, right, this is Simon Clarke right here. Here's the bloke, favourite of Truss, lost his job after 44 days. The unvarnished truth is that Rishi Sunak is leading the Conservatives into an election where they will be massacred, is his word. It is time to strip away illusion. Our country is on the brink of being run by Labour for a decade. It is now beyond doubt. Prime Minister's far from solely responsible, but his uninspiring leadership is the main obstacle. Here we go, down here now. Rishi is decent to his core, fiercely intelligent and works hard. You know there's a but coming, don't you? He doesn't get what Britain needs. That's a line, the wording of which is exactly the same as what Starmer has said about Rishi Sunak. He's not listening. And finally, we go over to the right here. The British people are not blind. They see Rishi only acted on legal migration when he was forced to. So he's talking about the extinction. And one more, if we change the leader to a prime minister who shares the instincts of the majority, we will recover. It's getting a bit late. There we are, Sunak Starmer. So the problem with this is very simple, okay? The problem is they keep chopping and changing. So these are the Conservative Prime Ministers since 2010. Obviously, Cameron comes in 2010, coalition government, wins outright in 2015, and then it all falls apart with Brexit. He has to leave. Theresa May comes in 2016. Then Boris Johnson replaces her 2019, calls an election and wins. 2022, no one expected Johnson to be out, but he messes it up, arguably. Liz Truss comes in. She lasts barely a month. Out she goes, in comes Sunak. So if you added to this, you'd have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You'd have 6 prime ministers in, 14 years? Let's just go and see what our panel think of this, because it's getting, whatever side of the fence you're on, Carole, it's getting comical now.
You know what? When I heard about his piece before I read it, I thought, my God, he's gone mad. This is insanity. This would be the 6th prime minister in as many years. Now, but then I read the piece, and there's a lot of what he says makes sense in here. He says you've got to get a PM that shares, and a lot of what you read out there is good, but he also think it's really important. He says you've got to get a PM that shares the instinct of the majority, which I think is absolutely right. And Sunak does not have that. I don't know how, but and also one of the other lines he wrote was he said he's largely accepted the anti-democratic interpretation of international law, which is what a majority of the country are saying. They're saying, ignore the CCHR, stop the boats. You can do it by doing that. So I think this is the problem. But when he says, you can either, I think this is really important. He says, you can either accept that we're going to be monumentally defeated if we keep Sunak and sleepwalk into this kind of catastrophic defeat, or we can have one last chance and do something about it. And when I read that, I thought, actually, he's right. He says that I don't think...
Well, who would you bring in, then?
Well, yeah, no, I don't think...
Because he's a Truss fan.
No, I don't think she should come in. I do think, a lot of the Red Wall MPs a couple of weeks ago were saying they really regret ousting Boris. They really regret it.
Maybe they do. But, I'll come to you in a second, Gina, if I can. But let's go to Callum in Edinburgh, because do you know what? Our call lines are full. What is everyone saying? Callum, what are you saying about this?
I'm saying that it is stupid to even... It will be the nail in the coffin for the Conservatives to change prime ministers. I don't know what that MP is thinking about to write that article in the paper. But
Callum, can I ask you, have you read Simon Clarke's piece?
No, but you're...
No, I just read it out. I just read it out.
But you should, because he's addressing exactly what you're saying, and I think it's really valid.
Yeah, but hang on a minute.
No, I don't agree.
OK, what do you think, Gina?
Read it, you can't.
I mean, they are in such disarray. And the idea that they could replace somebody and wipe the slate clean for 14 years of the chaos that they've done in the country. On the doorsteps, I can tell you in Epsom and Ewell, all around the country that we've been, people want an election. That's what they want. They want a general election. They don't want another prime minister. You can't have a fourth.
Yes, it is. This latest poll says that's not true.
Yeah,
this latest poll of 13,000 people.
People don't want an election?
No, they won't ask that question. They won't ask that question. I'm telling you that people, it depends what the questions are in a poll you're asked, and they won't ask if they want a general election. But the majority of people want a general election. They just want this farce to be over. We just need to get on and stop this infighting and self-destruction that's going on.
I think I mentioned the other day, I was at a book launch. It was Nadine Dorris's book.
Oh, right.
But you're going to love this. Before she gave a speech, 2 burly security guards came in to make sure that the room was safe. I thought, Boris Johnson's coming. It was Liz Truss. Liz Truss has got security for the rest of her life.
Yes.
And a driver, and everything, because she was Prime Minister for 44 days. Surely not again. Nick in Devon, what do you think?
Oh, hi, Jeremy. I'm quite pleased because there's something nice and sort of bright in the sky today. I haven't seen that for a few months. But anyway, what I think about the Tories ditching Sunak, I just think that it's too late for them. I mean, quite honestly, they're tainted completely. I mean, the architect of all of this, or the architects, I should say, is obviously Johnson with all of his lies, and also Liz Truss with her complete incompetence. I mean, the country's not stupid.
I was thinking, Nick, I was saying it would be 7 prime ministers in 14 years. That's actually not right, because you time it from the moment Cameron goes. So it would actually be 7 prime ministers in 7 years. And 1 a year we're getting to Italy level.
It's incredible, isn't it? I mean, you wouldn't have believed this a few years ago.
6 prime ministers, yeah.
We've completely sort of, our system of government is just being shown up for absolutely being completely ridiculous.
Gina.
Nick, I was going to say, there is a very serious, I mean, we could laugh about it, it's fun, it's a farce, but the rest of the world's looking at us, don't have confidence in us. We're not attracting inward investment. We're not actually looking at growth, looking at the problems of our country, because we're absolutely, this farce of who's leader is just dominating everything. And it just needs to go to the country to have a general election.
Nick, thank you very much. I'll show you the Paddy Power odds, if I may, because I'm starting to think they could actually do it. They could actually flush their current leader and get a new one. So Kemi Badenoch, I mean, 9-4, 9-2 Penny Mordaunt. She had a shocker last time. Suella Braverman, unlikely. James Cleverly, even more unlikely. Then you've got the wild cards. So the idea they could send for Farage, who looks like he might consider joining the Conservatives if he could see a route to lead it. And then Boris Johnson coming back, as he said, like the Roman Cincinnatus.
But overnight, there's a rumour going around social media that could be Cameron as well to add to that list.
Cameron, yeah, that's a good point.
But he wouldn't do it. Cameron is not.
Yeah.
We need someone who understands what the people want. And what the people of this country currently want is they want immigration sorted and they want the economy sorted. And someone who gets that and who understands that.
What if sorting the economy means rejoining the EU?
No, but listen, people don't want that. I mean, I know Gina.
The polls show they do want
they want
that.
the economy sorted, right?
They want
to be more prosperous.
The majority of the polls show it.
OK, all right, well, that's...
Starmer's they're talking about taking us out of the trade agreements we already have, which is lunacy.
All right, listen, let's take a break. We've got so many calls on this. This idea, this guy... I've always get his name wrong. Sir Stephen Clarke. Simon Clarke. Yeah, he's obviously very famous. And he's called for Sunak to go and be replaced with who? 0207 862 2222. Sir Simon Clarke, that's the name. See you shortly. Jerry in Derbyshire, do you think they should just change one more time?
I feel they shouldn't have voted Rishi Sunak in the beginning, because as a Chancellor of the Exchequer, he set the taxes that we have to pay. But then he got upset when it was found out that his wife was claiming non-dom status, so she didn't have to pay UK taxes. Yeah. I mean, what goes through the Conservative Party minds? They vote somebody like that in, who's obviously doesn't have the country's interests at heart.
Are you one of the Red Wall seats there, Jerry, or Tory seat?
I was in one of the red wall seats. I'm in North East Derbyshire, just outside Chesterfield, and it was Labour from 1938 up until the last general election.
Wow!
And then they all decided to swap over to Conservative.
Yeah, well, listen, the question we're working out on is this, and this is going to sound nuts, right? But there's a thought that the only person who can win that seat for the Conservatives at the next election is Boris Johnson. What do you think?
Well, I think he had the right idea. He just doesn't have much control over his mouth.
Yeah, well, I mean, bringing in Dominic Cummings made the whole thing like an edition of Traitors, didn't it? So you wouldn't want to do that again.
But Jerry, would the people in your area stay Tory if Boris was back?
I've no idea.
What do you think?
As I say, I had no problems with the Labour. The Labour MP we had, a very nice lady called Natasha Engel. She was very contactable, very helpful.
That's good.
Lee Rowley has now taken over. You probably know his name. He's very much in the forefront of Conservative.
Lee who? Oh,
Lee Rowley.
Oh, yeah, OK. Thanks, Jerry. Interesting. Lynn in Middlesex, what about you? Do you think Boris Johnson is the choice?
No, to tell the God's honest truth, I don't think that they've got any choice whatsoever, because they're all tarred with the same brush, and it's parliamentarians voting for parliamentarians, unless they put it to the general public.
It's a bit like, the plane is crashing and they start looking in standard class for a pilot. That's not what you do when the plane's going down. You've got to, I'm just assuming you've got to keep the pilot strapped in.
No. Well, he's the best of a bad job, because the way things are going at the moment, more and more people are looking into reform Britain.
Well,
and as an option.
Yeah.
But Lynn, you do know if Reform get in, that the Reform slogan is, vote. Not their slogan. The Tory slogan is vote Reform, vote for Keir Starmer, because that's what will happen. They won't win, but it will allow Starmer in.
But Lynn, do you think we should go for an election as soon as possible rather than them trying to swap leaders every 5 minutes to just stay in power?
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, that's what we're hearing all the time.
That is a slightly loaded question, if I may say so. But
but on the doorstep, people are saying all the time, if I knock on doors, I speak to people. I had a big meeting in Epsom Mill yesterday. People are saying, we want an election. This lot have got to go. They don't care who's the leader.
But you're in it. That's a Tory seat, right?
Yeah, it's a Tory seat.
Chance of it remaining Tory, very high.
No, it's not at all.
Really? You think go Lib Dem? Go...
No. Right. There are no safe seats for the Tories.
All right, it's fascinating. So, Lynn, thank you. Robin in Gloucestershire, hello.
Hi, morning.
Is this like, trying to change the pilot when the plane is crashing?
Well, it really is rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. It's absolutely tragic. Whatever they do now, they're actually going to have to fall on their sword. But as Gina was saying, in Europe, friends in Europe, we are the laughingstock now. We are horribly, horribly in trouble. But also lack of investment coming in. So I think they've got to go quickly.
Well, I don't.
Europe. What do you mean we're horribly in trouble? Europe is horribly in trouble.
No, come on. We are regarded.
Hello, Germany.
No, yes, yes, but
we're technically in a recession.
You've got to really struggle to find a country that's behaving as comically as us at the moment.
Well, behaving as comically, but he says we're in trouble. He said that we're.
This is the Ministry of Silly Walks now, isn't it? We're doing.
But the thing is, if the Tories don't change leader, they are slipping.
Well, I mean, this is Robin. This is the thing. Think about what Carole's saying. It's all very well saying we're a mess, okay, but Carole's saying they've got a chance if they just ditch Sunak. Now, would you agree with that?
Not really, no. I think when we talk about the general public and what they want, I'm afraid they would go for somebody like Farage, which would eventually be very, very problematic and very dangerous.
That may well be what happens after the election. I think it's not impossible that he rejoins.
There is another issue as well that's a very important one constitutionally, in that we actually need a proper functioning opposition. So even if I think they will lose, but part of the opposition's role is to keep the government to check. And they are just in so much turmoil.
You're assuming that after the next election we're going to have a functioning government. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah.
Maybe a hung parliament. I don't know.
No, I just think this.
What I'm thinking is the opposition's role,
Understood.
and it will be the Conservatives need to be a proper functioning party.
This poll is saying of 322 constituencies talked to, Starmer only came out top on 164. The rest were not sure. Now that means the Tories are still in with a chance if people feel they have the right leader. And
It's
that's
a hung
what this
parliament.
poll's about.
It's going to be a hung parliament.
Do you think so?
Yep,
I don't know about
I do.
that.
Well,
Richard in Milton... I mean, of course, we don't know.
We
It's
don't know.
Richard in Milton Keynes. Hi.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
I'd just like to say, to be honest with you, right, should we ditch Sunak? Well, I'm kind of indifferent on that. I mean, but if you bring Boris Johnson back, then absolutely that's probably where they've got it. But I just want to try and ask if we're blaming Sunak for everything that's going wrong, is he the one who's responsible for everything that's going wrong around the Conservatives? Because he's the top man in the job, isn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. When you're Prime Minister, you're responsible for everything. Yeah, that's that.
Okay,
that works,
so
yeah.
Now we've agreed that, can I just ask, if we brought Starmer in as the Prime Minister of England, can we not hold him responsible for the post office issues? Because we've already agreed that the person at the top is responsible.
Well, yeah, sure. I mean, he might then say, I need
on their sword.
Yeah, fine, Richard. I mean, it's a bit of a silly argument, isn't it? He'll say he needs a bit of time to sort things out, but if it's still going wrong in 3-4 years' time, yeah, he'll be responsible.
But clearly we've already agreed that the person in top should be held responsible.
Okay.
And quite clearly we're holding Sunak responsible. Gina is going to hold Sunak responsible and Boris responsible. But clearly if we put anybody else, any other party other than Reform, in to be the Prime Minister, it's quite clear that Starmer can't go because he should be dying on his sword for what happened with the Muslim rape gangs and the post office scandal. He was the man at top, wasn't he?
So well, you're talking about the Crown Prosecution Service now. All right. OK, thank you, Richard.
Complex.
Interesting argument. I mean, I think the issue with the Conservatives is they have been in power since 2010. So it's not just Sunak came in yesterday and therefore he's responsible for everything. Kathleen in the West Midlands, shine some light here. Is Carole right? They've just got to get Boris back in and do it now.
No, what they've got to do is, at the moment, keep Rishi Sunak in government until the general election. He has to go to the country. The country then will decide on an elected Prime Minister. It's up to when he goes to. If not, if things go terribly wrong, and then I think he can go to the King, and I think Parliament can be disbanded. But no. The general election is on the doorstep, more or less.
All right. Now I hear you what you're saying. They can't change again. Yeah, and it just seems like you can change 5 times in 7 years, but you can't have a 6th Prime Minister. Do I mean 6? Yes, I do.
Yeah,
it's one loses count.
It would be 6 in this Parliament.
It would be, yes, you're right. And if you put Brown on one end and then Starmer on the other, you quite quickly get to 8 as well. Kathleen, thank you. Thanks for your calls on this. Later we'll be asking, should we stop building bigger cars? It's getting to the point that the...